In my last video, we talked about how to create equal line spacing in Photoshop between text and lines of text. Today, I'm going to show you how to create a background blur on an image. So you'll see in this picture, I created larger font in the shape of the magnifying glass. That's pretty simple. That's just by increasing the font size within the shape. Now the background blur is something a little bit more advanced. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first you're going to have all of your lettering that we used, all the lettering that I had. So I'm going to show you this full folder, my layer group, full of all the lettering. Now, we cannot add a background blur while these are all individual layers, so I had to flatten them. But I didn't want to delete my original copy of all that text because that would be a destructive edit, right? So if we delete it, then it's destructive. So instead, I made a copy of that entire folder. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make a copy of my lettering folder. Now see, here's the lettering copy. So same exact thing, but now it's still a folder full of all those files. So I'm going to merge everything within the contents of that folder. So opening up this layer group, you see all of the layers that I had before. And I had a different effect on Finding Joy, but that's not a big deal. Instead, I'm just going to click the folder, right click, and then click Merge Group. So that merged everything in that group into a single layer called lettering copy. So right here, I renamed it lettering flattened and then made a separate copy lettering. No problem. This is just same thing. It's just a flattened layer with all the letter contents underneath it. So if I hide that lettering, now you can see that's showing all by itself. So no background blur yet, but it's a layer individually. Now I can turn this layer into a smart object. The way you do that is go to Layer, click Smart Objects, and then Convert to Smart Object. The benefit to converting it to a smart object is that now any filters I apply are non-destructive. So non-destructive just means anything that you can remove, not Control-Z remove, but actually remove after it's been edited. So if I look at this other layer copy that I already had created and I hide those smart filters, I can remove the blur from the image without having to do much. I didn't permanently and destructively edit that picture because it's still there. The blur is just something I added on top. So that's the benefit of doing creating a smart object. If you don't create a smart object, it would be a destructive change. So now that I've made it a smart object, I'm going to hide this. I'm going to go ahead and select the area that I want to be blurred. Now, instead of selecting everything in the background and keeping the circle empty, it would be easier to select the circle and then invert the background, which is what I did. So I'm going to go ahead and click my ellipse tool up here, the second tool down in your tools panel. Hold down Shift and Alt at the same time to create a symmetrical circle. And then once you have the shape selected, you can release your mouse and there's the circle. So now I'm going to go up to Select and select Inverse. And that's going to have everything selected except the circle. So inverse is kind of like flip, the reverse of what I've done. So right now I have selected everything in the background except what's in the circle, which is exactly what I want. Now you might say, well, you don't really want that title to be selected and you don't want the magnifying glass to be selected. Well, technically it's not because I'm on this letter copy layer. So anything above this layer will not be affected, only what's underneath it applied to this specific layer. So I can even hide those things just to have them removed. So with this lettering copy layer selected, I'm going to go up to Filter, go down to Blur, and then this Gaussian blur is the one I like to use because there is a slider. So I can see how much blur I really want to apply to this. So that's a little too much. I had it on 2.5. That's a little too little. So I think 2.5 is probably about right. Okay, and now I have the background blurred and this part is still very clear. Add back the type, add back the magnifying glass, and there we have the new fresh picture.